stuff. Let's start with the publicly announced stuff. I think this is the entire list, right? Like nobody else. We're not missing anybody else.
Yeah, I
This
think
pretty
RFK was
opinion.
the last one.
RFK was the last one, right? Do you
I
want to?
don't
Where do you
know.
want to
He
start?
took so long to announce, or not long, but in the scheme of things, but long considering he announced all these, surprise people, especially Matt Gaetz, when he's been
Yeah,
talking about RFK for the last several weeks.
I'm pretty sure he was talking about it during like the campaign trail.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the last couple weeks of the election, he started saying like, "I'm definitely giving him health and human services." So
Yeah.
it's weird, but whatever. He can do what he wants, I guess. Who am I to question the president?
Yeah. Uh, not none of
The
these
once
people
and
right here.
future.
All right. Where do you want to start?
We can go in order.
Susie Wiles. All right. Let's see what Fox News has to say about Susie Wiles. Have you ever heard of her before this?
I hadn't. I did watch Trump. I don't know what you call the opposite of a concession speech. Basically, his.
His victory speech?
I watched his speech, victory speech. Yeah. And uh, he tried to get her to come out to, say hi and accept her congratulations and whatever because she was on the campaign.
Yeah.
She didn't. He didn't really want to. That's the first I've ever heard of her.
But why haven't we heard about her this entire time? Like,
I have heard that she is very, she likes to be low key. She likes to be behind the scenes. She's not one for the spotlight. So if that's a good enough excuse, maybe.
maybe it
I,
is.
I don't know. I mean,
Uh, what do you think about that? Like, what makes you like your first impression? Somebody doesn't want to like. Are you automatically going to like a more nefarious? Like, this is like just this lady's just umbrage and like just the dark umbrage just stays in the shadows, just casting the spells. Like, are you thinking like that, or are you thinking like, oh, how Trump is so flashy and like always there, and maybe she's just the person to just be in the background and actually because realistically, how much power does Trump really like? Competent wise is what I'm saying. Like, obviously, he's gonna be the most powerful man in the world. But we always talk about it. Like the president is such a figurehead like position, even with all the power the Supreme Court's granted him.
mhm.
Realistically, she's gonna be the one, and I'm assuming these picks they're not coming from Trump. Like are because she is really going to be the person behind the scenes for majority of his policies. No, like that's the job of the chief of staff. Like they manage everything for the president.
Essentially, I was actually looking this up earlier and I want to pull that back up. Yeah, so they oversee all policy development,
Okay.
um, daily operations and staff activities for the president. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful role. I didn't. This is one of those things that we can note. Like, I should know more about what the chief of staff of the White House does. It seems like it's a pretty important role.
Yeah.
I don't know if you look at it in terms of like the rest of the cabinet. Like, I don't know if their power is like keeping the rest of the cabinet, or if it's mostly of the people doing the day to day work in the White House. Like that's kind of what I need to look more into.
I think, and again, I'm gonna reference Netflix series House of Cards here, as far as my information on what the chief of staff
Oh my god.
is.
I don't know if we should involve Kevin Spacey in our
In,
podcast.
Kevin Spacey say. I'm just saying, like my information of what a chief of staff does is mostly from Hollywood. Um, but I'm just I here's how I see the hierarchy, right? Like president, the vice president, we can just ignore Vance like completely now that John Thune is like the majority senate. He's like we're probably not gonna hear from JD Vance for the next 4 years, like ever, unless he's got to
Well,
go cut a ribbon
it
somewhere, right?
it depends on who you ask, though. I mean, some people seem to think that JD Vance is the puppet master,
It,
the guy pulling all the strings behind the scenes. And that Trump is just, everybody knows Trump is out of his mind, so they're just gonna entertain Trump for the next 4 years and let JD Vance run the country. But I spend time on Twitter, so why not?
Honestly, I don't think that.
I don't see it, but
I don't see
I
JD
don't.
Vance
He
doing that.
doesn't come off as intelligent enough.
Who, JD Vance?
I Yeah, I mean, I know to an extent he must be, but he just doesn't come off that way. It could be just
Right.
social awkwardness.
Yeah, I think so. I think, but again, it could be on purpose. It could not be. We don't really know. But until I've seen anything else, again, like we don't know what's going on in his mind or anything. I'm saying like JD Vance is just gone. I'm sure he'll have some like, gone in terms of like, you know what I mean? Like we're only gonna hear Trump because he's such a big personality. Like that's just what he feeds off of. Um, but I do agree
I
with.
think we just won't hear from him much.
Yeah, I don't think so. Unless, like I said, like unless he's got to go step outside the shadows to go cut a ribbon, and Trump doesn't want to go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just don't think he's gonna like. I think JD Vance is there to like a place like, oh, Trump doesn't feel like going because they didn't send enough flowers to him. You know what I mean? So he's sending JD Vance, right? Like that's gonna be his role, unless I see anything otherwise. Uh, so in my eyes, it's Trump, then it's Susie Wiles, and then all the other secretaries. uh the secretaries are going to have their own
Right.
office. They don't really ever, they don't really interact with the president on a daily day-to-day basis. I'm pretty sure like the president just sends them what to do, and then they kind of like follow his like wishes. But eh, who's going to have, who sits on all, like chief of staff is going to have as much of a clearance as the president does, right? If she's going
Yeah,
to,
essentially, if you want to get anything to the president at all, you have to go through her.
right. So we just, if we, and I think aside from like the strict MAGA people, I think pretty much 78, to 80% of the country, um, agrees that Trump is just cuckoo, like cuckoo for cuckoo puffs. Like it's just gone. So she is essentially going to be running the country at this point. That's how I see it.
I feel like you make her out to be so evil. It's just secretly running the country. Like,
Necessarily like, that's not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing. I just don't know anything about her. But the fact that she's stepping away, again, okay, I'm gonna ask the question since, those are my thoughts, right? And I watched a video from a liberal point of view, somebody liberal talking about her. So, here's the question: do you think her staying away from the media limelight helps her control Trump and advise Trump in a way that will benefit the country, or not? I I, I have evidence for and against for both of my says, but I want to hear your like points because I said I think she's gonna be the one really running the country.
just kind of off the top of my head, having not researched it. Um, I mean, I don't immediately take it as something that's nefarious. I think it just shows that somebody, I guess, not knowing like anybody's. If I just knew this fact about a person in terms of how
Yeah,
they do their job, and I wasn't looking at where they stand politically or what their beliefs are, I would
yeah,
say I would. My instinct would be to say that that's a person who cares a lot about their job, works hard, and focuses on that, and doesn't focus on, doesn't try to make it an ego thing or a show offy thing. But I
yeah,
mean, again, very limited knowledge of her. And that, I mean, she's been in the Republican sphere apparently for the last several decades. She had She wasn't a part of the Reagan administration, but she was working in Washington during the Reagan administration, so she's been around for a while. So I mean,
Yeah,
her politics are obviously to the right. I don't know how extreme, other than if you look at the fact that she's apparently very close to Trump, but
yeah.
that
I,
doesn't
so
necessarily mean that she's probably not telling him to say things like the immigrants eat your nuts. I don't think that an advisor, but that's anything anybody was advising. I think that just came off out
I
of her mouth.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Like if that's all we know about her, like there's she doesn't seem nefarious. I haven't heard bad things about her except for the fact that she's MAGA. Um, but she,
I don't remember why, but I read that she had some beef with DeSantis.
yes, yes, that's what I was
You
gonna. That's
remember
what
why?
I don't know
Why that?
why. That's where I was gonna go next. Apparently, like when he helped him win the governorship, and then when he was running for president, apparently like he disagreed with her or something like that, and then like she just quit his campaign and just like took on a vendetta and was like instrumental in dismantling his entire campaign. Like, and now you don't even hear from DeSantis, and he was like one of the most staunchiest supporters. Like, he's like been banished into the shadow realm. You know what I mean? Uh,
That's
so
fine. Good for her.
yeah, right. Like, that's
Probably
a
worse, but
bonus.
good for
That's a plus on her
her.
side. Can we agree with that? But okay, that's so two things, right? If she is the one managing the whole policy aspect of Trump, and then I'm sure she has a hand in every single one of these picks. This is a negative on her side. The fact that you're picking Marco Rubio, Matt Gaetz, John F. Kennedy, like Robert F. Kennedy, I just
That's a good point. The picks
like,
are
what are we? Like,
wild.
this obviously has a strong hand in this. Now, is this? Uh, and if just loyalty picks making her job easier to control people because these people are loyal to Trump. You know what I mean? I can see that happening. Um, I can see that happening. You know what I mean? Maybe like it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna pick the people that I can control easily because that's just gonna make my job easier. Because like whatever I say, I can say it's coming for Trump because I have quote unquote I have control of Trump, right? I am his. I'm gonna see him every day. Every purview of information coming for Trump is going to come through me. It's going to get vetted by me. Um, so I want people that are going to respond quickly to me as fast as possible. Maybe these picks are those. Now, what is their agenda? We don't know, right? Uh,
Well,
th-
so I don't know if this paragraph. So this paragraph is from. It's about her, history with Ron DeSantis, but it's from the AP. I don't know if you'll see. So the things that it says, it can't obviously directly be contributed. Nobody can say she told me to say this or whatever. But
yeah,
so I'll just read the paragraph. Wiles ultimately went on to lead Trump's primary against DeSantis and trounced the Florida governor. Trump campaign aides and their outside allies gleefully taunted DeSantis throughout the race, mocking his laugh, the way he ate, and accusing him of wearing lifts in his boots. So it's like, is she just a mean girl behind the scenes? Is the fact did she call for this? Was this her idea? Is this the type of like? Is that part of Trump's campaign too? Was she kind of behind that? Is that how she does stuff? Just kind of like tear them down, be as petty as possible, because it works, right?
it does. So we're just saying like, well, she's just doing it because that's what she knows, and then like and then she knew DeSantis like that well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Thought that would get under his skin. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, again, can't really. This could have been just come up with any other aid, but the way this article is written, it's kind of like alluding to that she kind of had some play in the way that campaign went down. That there was a lot of mocking and kind of trying to tear down his ego.
Right. I mean, again, like he ran the whole campaign, so anything that happened on the campaign trail, like that's her.
It goes on to say, as well as using her insider knowledge that many suspected another on Trump's campaign staff who had also worked for DeSantis and had bad experiences. So she put out stuff to mock him and then put out information that he's a horrible boss. So I don't know. She just kind of runs dirty campaigns, it seems.
She's just vindictive as hell. Is that what we're saying?
So maybe she's, I mean, I don't know, maybe she's not a nice lady. Maybe I do need to, consider her the Umbridge of our time
Right.
or of our reality.
I think I think she's gonna be like if we consider every other pick to be just a puppet pick, I think she's the puppet master realistically. Um, so
That does still feel a little bit conspiracy to me.
it
So
does.
I don't
Again,
know.
it
I
does.
don't
It
know if I
does.
want to co-sign.
I get right. But if all things we're saying
Hold on.
like are true, like then okay. So somebody that I was listening to um talk about all these picks and they had nothing but good things to say about Susie. You know what I mean? They were saying like that just like out of all the picks that they've done, and she seems to be the one that's like completely normal. You know,
I mean,
she's
from the
she,
things that I've read, it sounds like she seems to be at least level-headed. So, and
yeah,
Trump actually cares about what she thinks. So she can, if she tells him that she doesn't like something that he said, she's like one of the only people he'll listen to and change his behavior. From what I've read.
yeah. I guess according to Politico, here's 5 things you need to know about Wilds. Her main experience is running campaigns, not government. Okay,
Mm,
but again, like if you can run a campaign, I think you'll be fine with running a Trump government. You know, she worked for Spectrum for Republican, from Mitt Romney to Rick Scott. That she has like ton of connections.
yeah, just some of the worst people.
Yeah, but and again, like as chaotic as Trump's campaign is, the only thing I
I
think
don't
that
know if
on
her
repeat,
being the daughter of a sportscaster is all that important.
right? But hey, I didn't even say anything about that.
I
I
can't
just
hate.
like yeah, but everything that I've heard from any the only thing that I've heard about her and then repeatedly hear about her is that she is super organized. He likes to run a clean, tight ship. Maybe it's the optimist in me. You know what I mean? Like as much as I like to think like this is gonna be the darkest days ever had, like democracy's going to shit, and then like of all the pet picks that we've seen, that's just so to me like that's gonna be the case. But maybe Susie Wilds is
She looks
the one
pretty
ray
cool
of.
in that picture.
Yeah, she looks badass, right? Uh,
I was
she's the
like,
one. Are we
okay.
fangirling? Are we fangirling Susie Wilds right now? Are we hoping she's the one ray of sunshine? She's the beacon of hope.
Oh, she's not gonna be. She co-stars Trump, DeSantis, apparently with Scott. She's been on. I mean, I won't fault her for. I mean, though, at the time that Romney ran, he was like, he was a little bit, too conservative for the time, but that was a different time. So she just like latches on to the most like far right she can find.
Anybody that was gonna run against Obama was always gonna lose. I don't think there was anybody that was gonna run against Obama that was gonna win. Like if it was anybody that was gonna win against Obama, it was probably gonna be either Mitt Romney or John McCain, and they both didn't even come like close. You know what I mean? Like those at that time, we're talking about like 2000 what 2008. Like those are your top Republican people. Like those are it. Like there's no more Republican.
Yeah,
You couldn't get more Republican than Mitt Romney, right? Like
right.
from what we know as normal Republican people, like you couldn't get that. So then
Well,
going
that's
back to
what I'm
Susie,
saying. At the time, it was like, oh, he's just like he was considered a religious extremist at the time, and now, he's a moderate
You
Republican.
like Mitt Romney now? Yeah, Mitt Romney was
I
the
don't
guy.
like Nick. I don't like Mitt Romney now. I'm just saying it's just the spectrum has shifted. You know, now we have
That's another
just
thing that
it's
I
just
was
different.
talking to. Yeah, it's just different. And then that's another thing that I was talking to you about, like just to tangent off things too. It's like, okay, look at where we were from. We went McCain. Okay, that guy wasn't Republican enough. All right, well maybe we'll go a little bit more Republican. Let's go a little bit more to the right. We'll go Mitt Romney. Okay, that didn't work for us either. Then they went to fucking. They took light speed and went all the way to fucking Donald Trump, like just to the fucking he's not even a Republican. Well, actually, okay. When he first started politics in 2016, when he's running 2016, Donald Trump is a moderate Republican. He just evolved this entire party over that 2016 to 2020 period into just this absolutely nutcase of a fucking just a different breed. And I think people fed him that. You know, I don't think he turned. I don't think he willingly turned into that. I think he got fed into that. Like people were just like, this is the way, right? Like we're gonna take this, like this cultist thing we have going on, and we're just gonna crank it up a notch. Like, and then Donald Trump loved it because it was just him at the top. Like, it's Donald Trump at the top.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think it would be interesting to look at the quick evolution of the Republican Party. I mean, I would want to do more research on it before I spoke on it, but if you look at, you know, from Bush to like, you know, when Obama came into office, we had the Tea Party coming in, like kind
yeah,
of forming, which was more to the right. Um,
yeah,
in terms of like the identity piece of it, I mean, again, I want to do more research before I fully speak on it, but
yeah,
and which kind of evolved to where we're at now, which is just full on as right as you can go.
yeah.
So it would be interesting to look into and kind of speak on it maybe in a few.
If they go even a little bit more right, is fascism. Like we are there.
Well, I mean,
Are we not?
that's
Like
kind of the
we're one
point.
step
When
away.
we're looking at, yeah, no, when we're looking at the cabinet picks, I mean, picking people who are going to be loyal to you with no questions asked is part of it's a tenet of fascism. So
Right. And then the
just
warrior
having a
board.
bunch of yes men in the government.
Yeah, and then the whole warrior board. But that's not where I wanted to go with this, right? Okay, so let's just go back all the way to 2008 when Obama started running. Again, Obama is not a leftist. He's not. He's a center. He's a center Democrat. Like that's who he is. He appeased to, like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna. He was fiscally responsible and just a little bit socially liberal. That's who he was, right? So if the Republican Party kept going left and left and left and left, I mean right and right and right, Democrats didn't follow with that. So the Republican Party just kept going right and right and right. I meant to say, uh, we didn't do the same thing. We had Bernie, and that's it. And the Democratic Party has pretty much shunned him, right? We can all agree that Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama are the de facto leader after he got out of office. They are the de facto leaders of the Democratic Party. What he says, he has incredible amount of power within the Democratic control. Like he just does. Like whatever he says, kind of at this point goes, right? And I think he is even losing some of that if the reports coming out are true with even Joe Biden, right? So, but they've always catered to this idea that the Americans want somebody on the center. No, nobody wants anybody in the center. Nobody does. People are sick of it. People are tired of it. People want somebody on the left. They want you to go. And I keep harping on this again is Donald Trump didn't win this election. The Democrats lost it. It's
Right.
just simple as that. Like you don't credit Donald Trump with this victory. You know, it's just the Democrats handed it to him. Uh, Kamala Harris did well with black voters, black men, and black women, which
Mhm.
everybody that was the question, right? Like that was and I feel like that was the distracting point. Like, oh, black men aren't voting, black men aren't voting, black men aren't voting. Well, no, you really need to look at the Latinos. because they swinged all the way 32 points in from Joe Biden to Trump's vote. And whatever we want to say about that, obviously this is voting against their interests because the the Trump's most racist point is against Latino men, right?
Right.
Uh, but that's beside the point. But that shift did still happen. Why did that happen? Because the Democratic Party has over and over and over and over again expected everybody, people like me and you, the Latino community, just hey, that we have those. We don't have to do anything about it. No, you have to do something. You can't. If you're given with two conservative choices, people will always go with the more conservative one. Like that's just what's gonna happen, right? And I think if you just go back across with Hillary, then Joe Biden, then Kamala Harris, they've just been more to the center. They haven't been more to the left, and I think that's their biggest problem. And we'll see how that we'll see how that changes. But go back to Susie.
I would agree. I mean, it doesn't really, they didn't really do anything to pick anybody up. I mean, there was a lot of us who, did vote for her because we recognized her as the lesser of two evils, but
Right.
she wasn't somebody, we could rally behind. So that's not really a feeling that more people can get behind. You just kind of have your reluctant voters, and you're not going to
Yeah.
pick up anybody else. And that's what happened.
Like you just bubbled it
I
in and you
don't
saw it.
want. Yeah, I don't really want to harp on it, but I heard an interesting thought on the like the Latino vote today that there's no share because that was interesting, and it was on a Crooked Media podcast in Hysteria, and the host was saying that the assumption for the Latino community was that they would hear the things that Trump says, and like the worst things, like they're all rapists, they're all criminals, and they would kind of the assumption from the Democrats is that they would, how could they say that about me or my community? That's not true. But really, like a lot of people are hearing that and they're not associating that with themselves. They're saying that's not me, that's other people who I
Yeah.
don't know, who I don't associate with, and I don't want them in the country that I live in either.
Yeah.
You know, and then, but what does apply to me is the fact that it's hard to parent my groceries just like everyone else. So I just thought that was obvious, but kind of profound and like, hold up. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just, but I mean, you're correct. It's kind of just the party just can't make assumptions about who's going to vote for them.
Yeah. No, I think there's just I don't think there's any research on this. Maybe this is just my thing too. Is like there's this like residual thing that lasts, right? Like let's say if somebody voted for Trump this election, the chances of them uh, uh, voting for Trump or a Republican again next cycle are pretty high, unless something drastically swings it
I
the
don't
other
know if
way.
that's really true. I feel
You don't
like
think
a
so?
lot of people, I think this stage just sets itself up every couple,
You think it's a fresh slate that
pe-
comes out?
people. No, I think that every 4 to 8 years, people are disgruntled with the president because things aren't getting better or things got worse. So so that they change parties. That's why we essentially change parties every 8 years.
But
They get
I,
pissed off. They got pissed off at George Bush because he started tanking the economy and
yeah,
kept us in a war forever. So we are like, well, let's give the Democrats a try,
yeah.
and then
I
everything went
and I
Obama, and then people
and then
felt like, oh, we're getting too woke. Let's give Trump a try.
yeah,
So then oh, Trump's crazy. He totally botched the pandemic and just ruined a lot of stuff. So let's go back to the Democrats. And and then people hate Joe Biden. So
yeah.
we're going back. Things
A-
didn't
a-
get better enough to
And
justify another Democratic term. So
I, I agree.
let's
And
switch
I'm not
over.
saying I don't disagree.
I
The
think
only
that does
reason,
play a role in it. People. It's the change thing. People think that
yes,
it's just this vicious cycle of
Yeah.
If I vote the other way, maybe things will change.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only reason I say what I say is like the fact that like maybe like if somebody voted for Trump this cycle, there's gonna be this residual like red ghost that's gonna hang over them, or like it's part of them now. You know what I mean? Like not to say they're like tainted, but like you know what I mean?
The red ghost.
Like,
I
they're
liked that. That was good.
but okay, so I watched this video of this Latino man, clearly an immigrant. He lives in Texas, right by the border, and he drives. I don't know if he was Texas actually, it might have been Arizona, but anyways, close to the border state. And he said something. He goes when when I used to drive by this wall that's being built, the border. Um, Before it used to like during during Trump's first presidency, it used to look like a prison, but now it looks like a security measure. You know what I mean? Now it looks like security to me. And it kind of goes back
Yeah.
to what you said is like, oh, I'm not the criminal. Like that's not I'm not the criminal that's coming over, right? Like I'm here legally. I work here. I do my thing here. So they see it that way now. Like right? Like I mean, maybe like you could say like it's the proximity to whiteness like that somebody wants to be like or whatever you want to call it, right? Like and it could
Hmm.
just be like that Biden just did such a terrible job of explaining the state of the world really, like, and how better off Americans are. Again, that goes back to just the whole, it's like all of it, you know what I mean? The more we talk about it, the more it just like piles on top of like just each other, like just the uneducation, the manipulation, just it just change factor. It's just like all of it just gets piled on at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like it's just they
Maybe
the
it's not
Democrats
something that
just
I can understand as like, oh
yeah,
wait, listen, but to me it just doesn't make sense to I mean, obviously everyone has the way that they see themselves, but
yeah,
to not like be able to kind of go outside of yourself and see how somebody with a certain view might see you. Like I feel like the Republican or I don't want to say that, but like MAGA Trump have made it clear how they view like Latino people as a whole. I mean, you don't hear barely ever do you even get a not all, like from Trump.
yeah,
Like sometimes you get that, but not really.
yeah,
So I guess looking outside of yourself and being like, how do these people view me? And obviously not good, and it's for no reason.
yeah,
So I'm not going to throw my support behind them. So maybe it's just something that I'm not able to understand because that's not something I would experience.
yeah. And being up in Northeast because we're so cushioned, like in Connecticut, like you know what I mean. We don't really get these crazy like ads that like you're getting down there, right? Like that stuff again goes back to the manipulation part of the stuff. But I just like I blame if anybody that I'm gonna blame, I'm not gonna blame the voter for this loss, for this resounding loss, and I like and what's to follow. I'm blaming the Democrats, and from what I've seen
Yeah.
I don't think they've learned. You know, I don't think they've learned anything. I think they expect like Bernie comes out just a day after talks about the Democratic Party has forgotten the working class, and that's 100% true, right? Like they've just gotten used to just having the immigrant vote, the black vote, the educated vote, and people just don't care. Like it's just
Well,
that's not the thing anymore.
for, for the record, that interview that Pelosi had where she said that Biden basically put forth Kamala without approval from anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that
she,
actually an
I mean,
interview? She
I feel
actually
like
comes out and says that, or is that like a rumor?
well, the so she said that he threw his support behind Kamala, but it's not in the way that everybody's reporting it. In that they're saying that she, almost as if she, in an outrage, said. I think the TikTok that you sent me, the reporter was saying that like 30 minutes before they were gonna do like figure out their plans for like a primary or something, he like
Yeah.
did it as a fuck you. She did not. I was working, so I would probably want to listen to it again, but she really didn't kind of say it like that. She was kind of just like, oh, and he supported Kamala, and then they moved on topics. But what I was gonna say is that she, what she did, put emotion behind and get kind of like sassy about in her interview was about that Bernie Sanders
Yeah,
comment. She was much more angry about that than
yeah,
anything Biden did. And I mean, I think arguments that this is all Biden's fault is very strong.
yeah.
But she was saying that her justification that Bernie basically was full of it is that Democrats made some headway and were keeping a lot of House seats, even though Republicans won the House. So it's like, it's
Right.
just like I don't really know how to analyze that. Like what the point, like what the point she's trying to make is,
Right.
other than that she thinks, she hates what Bernie said. I
Yeah.
don't, but it just seemed a little ridiculous.
And again, it just goes back to like they didn't learn a thing. They didn't learn a thing. You know, they didn't pick up a single thing, and now it's just we'll see. We'll see what it really happens. I'm curious to see who's going to be the next cycle. I we're kind of reaching the hour mark here. I think we want to just keep it to an hour. We got about 8 minutes left.
Yeah, and we
Um,
only got through one of them.
one of
All
them.
right.
It's okay. I think, and it really, I think that's totally fine. I think, I stand by the fact, and again, I have no evidence to like prove my thinking. It's guys sitting in Manchester, Connecticut. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that has no idea what the fuck is happening in Washington or anywhere in the political sphere of anything. But if I'm just seeing it as it is, and like maybe this is like House of Cards speaking through me, I think she is the most important one. I think she's gonna really have Trump's ear, and then anything coming out of the White House, and in like, do I expect fucking Matt Gaetz or Marco Rubio to like fly off the handle and just go vigilante? Like, no, they're obviously gonna get approval from Trump, and then that automatically means they're gonna have to go through Susie Wilds. You know what I mean? So essentially, she
You think
is
that case will get approved
I
by
want to
Senate
go over
or
that. I
Senate
really want to
Benjamin?
talk about that. I really, really want to talk about that. From
Well,
what I've
we can
seen,
talk about Matt Gates next week.
yeah. I don't know.
I'm sure it'll still be relevant.
I'll leave it at that. I don't know. From what I've seen, is a big I don't know. It's not looking good in his favor. But then again, we can we also have to talk about the fact that Article 2, Section 3. So that throws the ball in Dune's court.
Mm-hmm.
Will he allow Trump to do what Trump wants to do with recess appointments? And if he does, then there's nothing stopping Matt Gaetz from. It just looks like a fucking asshole. Like I just, dude, just, like, I just want to hit him.
He
Like
has
that's
a
it. I, I
real weird
see
face.
this, I see this, and I just want to be like, you're just like you just scream like asshole. Like you know what I mean? You just do. Like at least Marco Rubio, you're just like, yeah, you're just a fuckhead. Like,
He's a regular
this
looking
just
guy. Yeah.
asshole. Like just like your normal Republican that like you'd never want to ever like talk to. You know, if you have an argument with him and he's gonna lose like 9 out of 10 times. Like you just look at this and you just go, yeah, you're just an asshole. Like you're just a dick. This I don't even know what the fuck is happening here. This is horrible. I Tulsi, like you lost. You went from Bernie to like fucking here, but hey,
She came out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I think she's just
We
well.
should talk about the Doge thing at some point.
Well, don't even. But her,
No,
I can
I love how
understand. You
it's
know,
under no confirmation required, but you
yeah,
can't. The president doesn't have the authority to just set up
yeah. Just
a
another branch of the government. Yeah, 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 yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
It's not. You can't do that. But okay,
Yeah.
sure.
This I can understand. Like she is literally doing this just to further her political career. That's her entire motivation.
Mhm.
That is there's no nefarious thing behind her, right? Like this is we can like I think
He
that's
just
clear
wants
as
power.
day. That's clear as day. She just wants power, and that's it. She just wants to be in a position of power, and realistically, she's ruined her chances because again, like going back to Vivek, like they can like her as much as they want, they'll never vote for her, and she's ruined
Mhm.
any chance of being in any kind of house position anywhere where for her, if she wanted to advance further than just the DNI had, it were through the Democratic Party, but that'll never ever happen. Now that just it's not you can't just flip back and forth. You burn too many bridges, I think. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that'll never happen. I think this is a fairly like easy to pick. This is just loyalty pick, loyalty pick,
Stupid.
loyalty pick, loyalty pick.
Yeah.
This one is just uh, I don't even know that loyalty pick at the end of the day, but it's just like this is a puppet pick. I don't even see this as a loyalty pick. This is 100% like Susie Wilds, like you're my puppet pick. Like that, any word coming out of your like it's your fucking mouth moving, but it's my hand in your ass. You know what I mean? Like that's the pick
Mhm.
right here. This one is probably just to make some fuckhead in the oil lobby happy. That's just 100% what that is. Loyalty pick. This is just like I made a campaign promise. You go wild, brother. Like you know what I mean? Like I got the best healthcare in the planet. Like I don't care what the fuck you do. Like go ahead, brother. Go knock yourself out. Like get those vaccines out of the. Just give polio to people. Go ahead. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Get the fluoride
Yeah.
out. Knock yourself
No.
out. Couple hundred children get polio. It's okay. We can live. You know, it's just
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
well,
This
we,
one,
well,
evil. That's Lex Luthor right here. You see this right? I see the same thing. That's Lex
Stephen
Luthor.
Miller.
You see, that's Lex Luthor. 100% that's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Like that is like just the cranium. That's Megamind personified. Like this dude is evil. Like that's just the devil walking around. So I don't know. I don't know who the hell this is. Never seen him. Never seen him. This just it's just he, he got here. He doesn't know how he got here. He's like, just along for the ride, brother. Like, hey, vice president, I'm
He
not
just
gonna do better than the Senate. Might
fell,
as well try the executive branch. Like, he does not know.
just fell up. I don't know. I don't know if he's that stupid, honestly.
I don't
He's
think he's
just,
stupid. I don't think he's stupid, but I think he just realizes, like, you know what he's gonna do, and I think this is what's actually gonna end up happening. I think he's just gonna try to distance himself from the craziness of Donald Trump and try to gain quote unquote like a world class world leader experience and then try to make a run for it. Try to make
oh
a
yeah.
run for it after 2028 if we have those elections.
I mean, he's only like 40, right?
Right.
Not, is he even 40?
I don't know. You can look it up.
Not that
VP
that
Vance. 40, exactly 40. So he's exactly
yeah.
40.
So we're gonna be
He's gonna be around
one
for a
of the
while. So I
two
think I,
doors.
I think he's trying to put himself on the global stage, and I think he's trying to play the long game. He's going for the long game, which again, not the he's going for the long game. It's just simple as that. He's going for the long game. It's just not a bad plan. Which is not a bad plan. Maybe people will forget the nutty job that Trump's gonna do, and again, if you can't pin
Do you think?
Biden on Kamala, then you really can't pin Trump on Vance, right? So we'll see go. He's around for the long game. I think that's his play.
Do you think Gates will end up on the Supreme Court?
Who? Oh no! Don't say
Gates.
that. Just I didn't even think about that.
All
Don't
right,
say
that's fine.
that.
We won't think about it. Do you have any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. I think what the fuck is this? But anyways, I have a lot of final thoughts actually. That should change my mind. But like especially with these two over here, like this is just insane. Do we have a? They haven't
We're
announced
gonna
the
have the most efficient government ever.
government
I think
efficiency.
we're great.
Yeah.